Where your grandparents or parents maybe didn't have to worry as much about their lifestyle being drastically altered by retirement, today's worker doesn't see the same guarantee. Defined benefit pension plans are fading, as are so-called staff positions at companies, and that leaves a gap in planning for our retirement future. Here now with more, Gerda Kaegi. She is Professor Emerita in Politics and Public Administration at Ryerson University and former president of the provincial and national divisions of Canadian Pensioners Concerned. And we're delighted to welcome you to TVO.
Thank you.
I got to just say off the top, is the shot, yeah, there, we can see it in the wide shot. You had an argument with some ice not too long ago.
That's right.
And the ice won.
Absolute. Actually, the pavement won.
The pavement won, and you've got a nice cast on as a result.
Yes, hopefully to get lighter soon.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Just before we talk about, tell me about Canadian Pensioners Concerned. What are they?
They're an amazing group. They were started by some ex-retired Bell employees in the 1960s who used to meet for tea and coffee. They decided they would find out how previous retirees were doing. They found them in incredible poverty. They got very angry. They got organized. The Anglican Church, United Church backed them. They organized speaking trip for people to go across the country, television, radio, talking about pensions. And we've been around ever since.
And when was that? How long ago?
Well, they incorporated in 1969. So they probably, if I remember correctly, started around 67.
Okay. Now,
Very needed.
Very needed. Well, that's what we're going to get into here, because I want your view on a couple of studies / reviews I have seen lately of the Canadian retirement income system, which suggests that the system we have in place does a pretty good job in ensuring sufficient retirement income for lower income Canadians. What's your view on that assessment?
I disagree. It has improved. No question. Poverty among older people used to be about 35%. For married couples, it's down about 2.5. Single unattached women, it's the same as child poverty. Men, a little bit less. So for older single unattached women, about 15%. For single unattached men, about 12%. So I don't think that's very good.
We can't rest on our laurels, you would say.
Absolutely not.
Now, let me get your view on this next thing, which is that we seem to be entering a phase in our country's collective life where defined benefit pension plans are going to be a thing of the past, and defined contribution plans, which are obviously not as generous and not as secure, are the thing of the future. And what do we think about that?
Not very much. Sorry. Where we had defined benefit plans, we had unions. They brought it. Wonderful. Defined contribution, no guarantee what you're going to retire with. The year you retire, the stock market could have crashed. What are you going to be left with? Very little. And I think it's a serious flaw, but I also think the Canada Pension Plan has to be looked at. So hopefully we can touch on that.
Well, let's pick up on that. What do you want to see done with the CPP?
Well, the trouble with CPP, it was based not to provide a good pension in your old age. It was to be 1/4 of the average wage of workers in the country. 1/4, which meant about 2 years ago, about maximum $12,000. You can live $12,000?
Nobody can.
Exactly.
But it was never.
And that's the maximum. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, but I just say they would say that it was never intended to be the sole source of income upon which you were going to, depend for your entire retirement.
Absolutely. Right. But the idea was it should never be a significant amount. And when you look at other countries, Iceland, Faroe Islands, Denmark, Sweden, the whole idea was older people shouldn't be in poverty. So they targeted between 40 to 60% of the average wage. And financial planners tell you to plan for 70% of what you were earning before you retire. Well, where are you going to get 70% if the maximum of the CPP is about $1,020 a month, right? Then you have old age security.
Well, don't go there yet, because I want to ask
Sorry.
we hear this comparison with Denmark quite frequently, actually, that the Danes have got it figured out.
The Faroe Islands are even better, if you know where they are,
so
and I'm sure you do.
Don't tell us. Where are the Faroe
They're
Islands?
in the Atlantic between Iceland and Norway.
Okay, so...
Near towards Greenland, but it's Faroe Islands, Iceland, Greenland.
And what are they doing so well that we're not doing
60%.
How do they fund that, though?
They've planned ahead, and they're, as a society, like the Danes, they said, we don't want poverty in the old age.
So it's a matter of
investment.
Upping the premiums and upping the
Certainly.
takeout.
We only pay 9.9% towards CPP. By the way, the Americans pay 12.4%. And they also...
For Social Security?
Yeah. They also have, they also have a higher level that you can pay at. Our level is the average wage, $51,000, $50,000 and a quarter. It's not going to give you much, but you're paying for it. You can't pay more. And the assumption, of course, was when they did the Canada Pension Plan, I remember Tom Kent and Pearson writing about this, but they felt we as workers would be able to supplement. But that assumes you're going to have a good wage, you can afford to put money aside, and we know people can't, right?
Okay. There's another alternative out there.
Yeah.
We've heard both the Ontario opposition leader Tim Hudak champion it. We've heard the federal finance minister, Jim Flaherty, champion it.
Right.
He would like to see something called a pooled, both of them, the pooled registered pension plan, PRPP, as opposed to bumping up the CPP. They like this idea better because it would include self-employed people who currently don't have that avenue available to them.
Well, you can pay into the Canada Pension Plan, but you pay the employer and the employee amount. So you can do it. The trouble with this pool plan of Mr. Hudak's is that no employer is paying in. You're paying in. There's no guarantee, no difference from the defined contribution. So what are you going to count on?
But I think his position is at least it's something. There's no employer paying in because in many cases you are the employer. You're self-employed.
True, but and self-employed can pay the employer side and the worker side. You can do that, depending how you set up your employment. But the key thing is, there's no guarantee. It's not well funded, and it isn't intergenerational, which CPP is, which is why Harry Arthur's, the Caledon Institute, many people, whether they're middle-of-the-road economists, even some of the more conservative economists have said CPP should be built to be more of the building block because there is no security behind the pooled plans. Furthermore, good money for the banks, good money for the insurance companies. There's going to be a fee coming off. You can't beat the low fee of Canada Pension Plan. It's the lowest. So why would you go to a higher fee?
Okay, so let me understand.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I want to make sure I understand where you're coming from.
Okay.
You're not a fan of the PRPP. You are not a fan of this move towards defined contribution plans as opposed to defined benefit plans.
I understand why, but they're not guaranteeing any security.
So in your view, our best avenue going forward would be bumping up the Canadian pension plan.
Yes, but you also have to look at old age security.
And how about guaranteed income supplement?
Oh, yeah. no question. The maximum you can get in 2013 on the combination, your income would be $16,000, which isn't much.
Bottom line here is you've got a plan, don't you? You cannot
Absolutely.
You can't rely on the quote unquote generosity of your federal government to see you through your old age, can you?
Well, you could partly if they increased old age security and the GIS. Old age security is clawed back. So at 69,000, individual is clawed back. What is interesting, if you have two couples who have an income, they're retired, they're doing well, they have an income of 60,000, say, each, especially with income splitting, they don't get clawed back. If you're a single person and you have 69,000,
you do
claw back.
So that's an iniquity in the system.
Absolutely.
You'd want to see them do something about that.
Well, it's unfair. Why should a couple who have an income of, after tax, let's say, of 120,000 live with the full OAS when a single person with an income of 69, just over 70, let's say, gets clawed back?
Have you made these views, available to those who need to know them?
Oh, yeah. We replied to Harry Arthur's wonderful study for Ontario. I've done it in briefs to the legislature. We do public education around this. We want people to wake up because you've got to have people realize if they keep quiet, poverty is going to increase. And the OECD has noted that in Canada, yes, couples are better off, single older people are not, the poverty rate going up, the low wage changes in the economy, people losing their jobs in the recessions, especially the last one, companies going bankrupt, you're going to be in trouble. So if we all contribute, we're all going to be better off.
Can I ask a final, very inappropriate question?
Yeah.
Gerda, how old are you?
80.
80. I hope I am as engaged a citizen as you are when I turn 80. Thank you very much for being in here today.
Well, thank you for having me.
It was great to meet you. That's Gerda Kaegi, Professor Emerita, Politics and Public Admin at Ryerson University.
Support Ontario's public television. Donate at tvo.org.